Even while murders are usually stressful, some are worse. The shocked communities and confused authorities are leaving unanswered questions decades later as time went by without an arrest or even a credible suspect. Welcome to the Bleeding Truth YouTube channel. To know about some of the scary crime facts, click the subscribe button, and make sure to hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss out on our new videos. Here are a few of the most confusing unsolved murder cases in the past. Number 1. Jack the Ripper terrorized London. Over a century ago, London's most renowned serial killer frightened the East Side by killing prostitutes. He murdered at least 5 women before becoming known as Jack the Ripper. Over the span of a 3-month period in 1888, terror increased as the bodies started to accumulate close to one another. When news of a second female victim came out, the community was horrified to a degree bordering on panic. The local newspaper described the murder as barbarous and claimed it was too horrifying for description. The suspect's distinctive and gory method of murder, as well as his proficiency with a knife, first led local officials to wonder if he was a butcher or a doctor. According to author Dave Yost, who examines the 5 deaths in his book Elizabeth Stride and Jack the Ripper, the victims of Whitechapel murders, Mary and Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly all had their throats slashed, and the majority had their stomachs slit and organs ripped out before being dumped on the streets. Each victim was believed to have been a known heavy drinker and a prostitute, according to the FBI, which investigated the case in 1988 at the request of a film production firm. They were all swiftly murdered in the early morning hours after being targeted because they were easily accessible. Police never identified the murderer, although having all eyes on the investigation. Numerous amateur and professional criminologists and historians have made guesses about the identity of the murderer, but it seems that Jack the Ripper kept his identity a mystery until his death. Number 2. The Zodiac Killer taunted police with clues. The Zodiac Killer wasn't a typical killer. He seemed to enjoy bullying police with cryptic letters and clues as he left the path of death behind him rather than moving away from the spotlight. In 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac Killer killed 5 individuals in Northern California. He wrote in letters to the police that there were many more victims, although never received approval. 2 young people were brutally murdered in a parking lot in December 1968, marking the start of his murderous rampage. Another 2 persons were shot in a parked car around 7 months later, but only one of them survived. Local newspapers began receiving letters from someone claiming to be responsible for the killings but writing them in an anonymous manner. The Zodiac Killer went on killing 2 more people in late September after authorities failed to figure out the code showing his identity. One of the victims survived, while the other one passed away. A 29-year-old taxi driver was shot and killed by the killer around 2 weeks later, according to the Examiner. Days later, the Zodiac sent a piece of the bloody shirt belonging to his most recent victim to the Chronicle newspaper. There are no certain suspects in the case as yet. The investigation, according to the San Francisco Police Department. Number 3. JonBenet Ramsey was found dead in her family home. In the months after the 6-year-old beauty queen's discovery dead in the basement of her family's Colorado home, JonBenet Ramsey's young, smiling face could be seen on newspaper front pages and television screens all across the nation. Boulder, the state's calm and affluent community was shocked by the incident. The day after Christmas in 1996, JonBenet, a beauty pageant winner, was found beaten and strangled with duct tape covering her mouth and throat. This was obviously terrible enough to attract wide observation, but JonBenét's own family came under great investigation, and many people who had been following the story started to wonder if her parents were somehow involved. Boulder police claimed the investigation is still ongoing 20 years later. Boulder Police Chief Greg Testa stated, "An arrest and successful prosecution are our goals. We haven't given up and we won't." In response to the recent 20th anniversary of JonBenét's passing, numerous major network specials and new films that looked at potential suspects were produced. Burke Ramsey, JonBenét's brother, also made his first public statement. On Dr. Phil, the 29-year-old said that when he first found out his sister had passed away, he started crying. Number 4. Rappers Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. were gunned down 6 months apart. Rap artists Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. were shot dead roughly 6 months apart in the late 1990s, shocking the music industry. The deaths occurred during a period of competition between two rival record companies. For their respective record companies, both rappers were the top performers. Many believed the murders were a sign music feuds had gone too far. On September 13, 1996, a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas caused the life of Shakur. The 25-year-old superstar's Death Row record company and its rival, Bad Boy, were at battle at the time. Christopher Wallace of Bad Boy, often known as the Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, or Biggie, was murdered in a similar manner 6 months later. The rapper was killed in a drive-by shooting as he was leaving a gathering in Los Angeles. According to the FBI, which looked into Biggie's death but closed the case in 2005, the two superstars were buddies when they were both signed to Bad Boy. After Tupac went to jail for rape crimes, the friends grew out. Later, Tupac switched to Death Row. On the 20th anniversary of Biggie's passing, Sean "Diddy" Combs posted an Instagram video in remembrance of his friend. "We're going to think back on him on this day because we miss him," he said. And now, 20 years later, time heals all wounds, but this one isn't healed yet. This is the end of this video. Thanks for being to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you think about this video below in the comments section.